News flash. None of us are perfect. Our personal expressions of sin are different, but all of us have in common our struggle to live up to God's commandment, be you holy as I am holy. In this video, Nate emphasizes that the heart of any type of recovery is human connection. In my own life and in working with pastors over the last 50 years, I've found that many of us struggle with developing the kind of supportive relationships that allow us to share our deepest concerns. It is not good for us to be like Adam and Eve and hide. We need to be less alone and allow God's representatives into our lives in a way that always encourages us to spiritually mature.
There is nothing more miserable than being a pastor with a porn habit. I speak from experience. I spent 5 ugly, painful years in that situation, and I can vividly remember the shame, the self-reproach, berating myself for my weakness, hating myself for my duplicity, despising my own hypocrisy, feeling like a fraud. I was never caught, and I don't think that anybody suspected, but I knew, and the knowledge haunted me. I'm not saying that I used porn the entire time. I quit often. Several times I thought I'd found the solution. Finally, the key insight, that magic spiritual discipline, the perfect routine, the final straw, the perfect prayer, the silver bullet. For a few blissful days, or maybe for a week or more, I would be porn-free. But then, out of the blue, I'd fall face first back into the mud. Sometimes I rationalize my porn use as a defense against infidelity, unaware that porn was actually grooming me patiently for the next step. I didn't have an affair, but I did eventually. Ironically, on a Christmas Eve, on my way to lead a candlelight service, pick up a woman out of the rain, unaware of what she was up to until she propositioned me. I found myself following the programming and accepting an invitation from a prostitute. Not many months later, I quit the ministry in shame and despair. I'd reached the conclusion that I had to either quit the behavior or quit the ministry, and at that point, there was only one I could quit. Only later did I realize that I had been attempting the impossible. My search for a private solution to my private problem was doomed from the beginning. I was trying to outthink a behavior that was rooted deep in my brain, far below the level of consciousness. I was doing irrational things for non-rational reasons, desperately trying to solve the problem by rational means. And I was trying to do it alone. Here's the problem. My porn use was always private, of course, but it was nonetheless a relational issue. After all, I wasn't imagining sex with myself. I was imagining sex with other people, using porn to scratch a relational itch, or more accurately, to salve a relational wound, without actually involving other people. I was choosing false intimacy in order to avoid rejection. I felt trapped. I couldn't tell anyone because I was a pastor. As I saw it, I'd been offered a deal. The church had offered me a sort of devil's bargain. They said, "We'd like you to climb up on this pedestal and explain and demonstrate to us on a weekly basis how to live the Christian life. As long as you stay on the pedestal, we'll give you affirmation and respect, and we'll provide financially for you and your family. But if you ever fall off, we will have to replace you. The stress of staying on that pedestal and keeping my secret almost killed me. And to avoid falling off, I eventually jumped. I quit the ministry at the age of 30 with my reputation still intact, still hooked on porn. I didn't jump straight into community. I kept up the act for another dozen years as an active church member. But eventually, after my wife caught me, I did what I should have done all along. I went for help. I found that there are safe places for me to bring my real self and say the real truth. And there is healing there. The recovery experience didn't just save my marriage. It saved me spiritually. God became much more real to me. The Bible changed. Recovery opened doors and windows on the gospel that I had never seen. After a few years in recovery, I started co-teaching an adult Sunday school class. I didn't publicly name my addiction at that time. My wife wasn't ready for me to do that. But I did describe myself as an addict. And I shared the lessons that I was learning on my own healing journey. And people responded. That class grew from 30 people to 300. And I found that I was now far more effective as a pastor than I'd ever been when they were paying me to do it. And people were telling me things that they never told me when I was all bright and shiny. The more vulnerable I became, the more they trusted me. My capacity for empathy and emotional connection was growing, along with my own satisfaction in the work. To any pastor who's trapped in porn, I have a simple message. Recovery requires relationship. The opposite of addiction is connection. You don't have to be alone in this fight. You have options. You can go for help. And you don't have to wait until you are discovered to do it. One option, you can set an example for your congregation by going to see a Christian counselor. There are qualified counselors these days who are trained and experienced in just this issue and who are morally and legally required to protect your privacy. There are also international Christian ministries like Pure Desire and Be Broken who know this territory very well and can help. There are anonymous recovery fellowships that are practically free. And if you're not comfortable going to a Celebrate Recovery or other 12-step group in your area, there are online meetings with Christian men from all over the world, many of them in full-time ministry. The Samson Society holds multiple online meetings every day, meetings where you can find friends, where you don't have to be a pastor but can just be another guy, and you can gain support and encouragement on your healing journey. Your life and your ministry can become immeasurably better. They really can. Personally, I think that my own personal experience with porn addiction and recovery has been one of the greatest gifts of my life. And in a highly sexualized culture like ours, where the church is full of fellow sufferers, it has actually made me far more useful.